Hey, welcome, Street Talk and Other Stuff. Mike Mad Dog Magnati here on the 1st of April. Have a good April Fool's Day. I'm not trying to do any April Fool's stuff today. Trust me, I'm not. But hey, it's just I love this time of year. I have unplugged my heat tape from my gutters. I have changed the tires on my car back to my regular tires. This is the best time of year. It's still a little chilly, but all of spring, all of summer is still ahead of us. It's great. But hey, thanks for tuning in today. I've got a great show today. I've got a really cool guest, a guy I've been wanting to have on for quite some time. But before we start, I just wanted to say, I do marriage counseling. And a guy came into my office the other day and I said, yeah, I got a real problem. He says, I lost my wife's audio tapes. Now I'm never going to hear the end of it. And then another guy comes into my office. He says, look, I believe that the earth is flat. I said, well, how can you believe that? He says, well, the earth is 70% water, right? I said, yeah. He said, and none of that is carbonated. Come on, these are good. Yes, these are good. Okay, but hey, Street Talk and Other Stuff, Mike Mad Dog Magnati, stick around. We're going to be right back.
Get the tax break you deserve this week at Walker's Furniture, as they offer a double sales tax discount or no money down special financing for up to 5 years with no minimum purchase.
There's no better time to freshen up your living room, dine in style, or get that bedroom set you've always wanted. Plus, get a double sales tax discount or up to 5 years special financing with no money down.
Making it the perfect time to max your tax return and spend less at Walker's.
I chose Pinnacles because they embrace and lift people with different learning styles.
It's a school where I can be myself, creative, and be successful.
There's a lot of hands-on activity, and
you get to really connect with the community here because we're all one. We get to see each other often. It's a small building.
The teachers care about you and make sure there is equity in the classroom.
They take care of them as a whole. They see them as a name, not a number.
Are you dealing with a pest or weed issue and you just don't know what to do?
We use the best pest control methods approved for areas with kids and pets.
Whether it's rats, mice, ants, or spiders,
or something else altogether, we provide the coaching and solutions you're looking for.
And you can know that your dollars are supporting a local, family-owned and operated business.
Allow us to help you get back to living healthy and pest-free. Harvest Valley Pest Control.
Imagine a science project being done on the kitchen table. Feel the excitement on Christmas morning as the kids race down the stairs to form memories that cannot be erased. Listen for the laughter coming from the next room. Put your family in a new home to make these visions become reality with Coldwell Banker Cascade. Use the Move Meter entering 2 cities and see how a potential move scores based on the cost of living and other factors. Make your dream place a reality with Coldwell Banker Cascade today.
Okay, we're back. Street Talk and Other Stuff, and I am very happy to introduce my good friend, my old buddy, my old compadre, Terry McMaster. Terry, it's good to have you. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, Mike.
Terry and I go way back. Terry was a former Wenatchee police officer, one of the first people I rode with, was a great example. We worked together a number of times. I remember one day, this just came to me. It was really hot, and we were getting changed in the locker room. And you said, I'm not going to be bulletproof today. I'll just stand behind you. And I said,
managed to happen a rookie.
Exactly. So hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Couldn't be better. There might have been better, but only that one time. Really good.
Cool, great.
My wife's retired, so I have full-time adult supervision.
That's good. And she's
apparently it is.
Your wife, Linda, a beautiful woman. You're a lucky man, and you know that. So
indeed, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, a little bit about yourself. I gave you some of the info, but
Yeah, I've spent some quality time at Wenatchee PD and about 30 years total in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And branched off from regular law enforcement into working for the state as a special investigator. After I could no longer leap tall buildings in a single bound. And found a home there. I was the chief of investigations for L&I for 6 years in Olympia. That's as long as I would advocate anybody stay in Olympia.
Well, probably longer than necessary, and I agree with you. Yeah. So
anyway, got back to the valley as soon as I could, and retired. Now I just hope the wife doesn't make me get a paper route.
Okay. Well, you never know, you know. So maybe we can up your business here today, and you can forestall the possibility of having to deliver the Wenatchee World. So.
Yeah, pretty much now I make knives when I can. I fish when I can. The rest of the time I do what I'm told.
Well, good husband.
And I have a good teller.
Okay, and maybe you'll get mad at me for doing this, so forgive me, but you're a veteran, and I want to thank you for your service, my friend.
Thank you.
So,
yeah,
it's really...
spent some time in Southeast Asia as a member of the Inshore Undersea Warfare Group. And pretty memorable when you were 18, 19 years old.
Yeah, you know, and as we've talked about, I worked counseling veterans for a couple of years, and it's just... I just have made it a point. I will go out of my way if I see somebody wearing a T-shirt or a hat to go and thank them for the service. So it's just, and I want you to do the same thing. Okay, so
I do as well. That obviously wasn't the homecoming we got, but so I make a point of letting folks know that I see wearing the uniform.
Well, good.
I appreciate it.
All right.
It's greatly appreciated by us old guys.
Well, you know, I see that in people's eyes. You know, matter of fact, at Safeway in East Wenatchee once, there was a guy wearing a hat that had a P-38 on it. Remember those planes, the twin engine? And I looked at him and said, "Did you really fly those?" He said, "Yes, I did." I said, "How cool is that?" You know, so.
Doesn't get a lot cooler.
Yeah, he's
No. So.
Okay, so you mentioned the knife making thing, and that's kind of why I wanted to have Terry on today, because he's got a company called Blind Dog Knife Company.
Yep.
Or I don't know if you call it company or what.
It's Blind Dog Knives, and it's a hobby, and I started it back in the mid '80s.
Okay.
Actually, not the company. I had a knife that I was very fond of, and my grandfather had given it to me, and apparently someone else liked it really well too, because it disappeared from my...
So they borrowed it from you?
Evidently. And I always remembered that one, and one day I was looking at an old circular saw blade and thought, well, maybe I could trace it out on here, cut it out, and kind of make one.
Okay, all right.
Well, I did. And up at deer camp that next year, all the guys saw my knife, and they all said, "I want one." Well, I thought, swell. So I started dabbling with making them.
Yeah.
And I provided 4 knives, I think, at deer camp that next year.
All right.
And then the phone calls started. I want one for my uncle, I want one for my father, I want one for Aunt Nellie. And so I struggled through the learning process and started making them. And I made them the hard way for a very long time.
Okay, you'll have to explain that.
Sure.
What's, you know?
The hard way is having only an old hard grinding wheel, no grinding belts, no heat treatment system. So you wasted a lot of drill bits trying to drill through things like, here's your knife.
Right.
It's just bar stock. There's a ton of different kinds of steels, but I'll get to that in a minute.
And this is steel, not iron, right?
It's steel.
Because I would guess that iron would be too soft for...
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And it has to be hardenable. So a lot of times I made a lot of knives out of the old 2-man crosscut saw blades, which if you got really old ones, they had good high carbon content, which meant they would harden, and you'd spark test them to see what kind of sparks got thrown off on the wheel, and you could tell by that how much carbon was in the blade.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So,
okay.
That was all stuff I learned the hard way.
Okay.
But ultimately, now I've got my shop set up pretty well for what I do. I did a lot of hand forging for a while, Damascus, and I'll show you one of those in just a moment. But after multiple surgeries on a wrist, I can no longer grip as well as I did. So now I'm down to doing stock removal, which involves removing stock from bars of known steels.
Okay.
And I have a heat treat oven, so I can heat treat. I still maintain my forge, so I can hand forge little parts.
Okay.
And bolsters and butt caps and that kind of thing.
Okay, now you said the first knife you made was made out of a cross-cut saw blade. How old was this saw? Because you don't see too many of those anymore.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
I used to go to second-hand shops and antique shops and find them on the wall and pay $50 for them, and I could make 10 or 12 blades out of them.
Sure.
And it was good, high-quality steel.
Okay.
It was work-tempered, so what those folks did was two men would saw through a tree with it and then throw it down in the snow. So they heat it up, throw it in the snow, cool it down, so it's what we call work-tempered.
Would they do that on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
Well,
okay.
They do it to maintain the edge on the saw.
Okay.
So heat it up, cool it down, and it made very tough steel.
Okay.
And some remarkably good knives, but you're never quite sure about the content of them metallurgically. That's a 75-cent word out of a 25-cent mouth.
I'm impressed.
But now I go to known steels, so I know what they are, and I know how to heat treat them properly.
Okay.
So I can do them.
Okay, so now when you get blanks like what you have here, you know what the carbon content and the makeup of that steel is. Okay, well we'll get back to that in a minute. So.
Yep. Yeah.
But the saw blade, how did you cut it? How did you cut it?
With a little grinding wheel and a hacksaw.
Really?
Yeah. It was a lot of work.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
It was a lot of work back in the day to make that happen.
Okay.
And it took a long time. And people didn't understand why I was going to charge $80 for one of these knives. Well, I only get to do it on the weekend, so it's recreational.
Right.
I tried to make sure that it was never a job.
Right.
Because then it wouldn't have been pleasurable.
Right, exactly, yeah. So.
But they're, I've learned an awful lot. I've spent time with some very high quality makers, some master smiths, and I'm very grateful for the time.
Where did you run into these guys? Did any around here? Did you have to travel a little bit?
Down in Walla Walla, there's a fellow named Bruce Bump who's a master smith, and he's amazing. And I went down and spent days with him.
Okay.
Creating Damascus steel. He has big presses and forges, and so that was a whale of a learning experience.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I'm grateful for that. And I spent a lot of time with an old blacksmith up around Mount Vernon who just knew old stuff about steel. He could tell what the temperatures of it were by the color.
While it was being heated? Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, cool.
And so tempering process, that kind of thing, he had a whole little scale of straw brown is what you want for 400 degrees. So,
yeah. Okay. Something to remember. Something to remember. So.
Yeah, in case you were ever wondering. Yeah, it's been a lengthy progression, and then I was able to take another veteran under my wing for a couple of years, and that young fellow has a shop that I envy because he really got into it.
But is this his job?
No, he has a regular job.
Okay, well, I was going to say maybe he's not having as much fun as you are, though.
He also has 2 kids and a wife that's bringing on board another one. So he's a very busy young man. But the critical part there is he's a young man. So he's doing very well. And it was great tutoring him.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I enjoy sharing the knowledge about how to do this.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, do you get much opportunity to do that? I mean, you did it with this young guy.
Occasionally, yeah. I've done it with a few folks just that I run across that are curious about the process, and I'll walk them through it and show them how it works.
Yeah, I remember years ago, matter of fact, this probably was the last time we talked, I asked you to sharpen some knives for me, and we had a really good conversation. You told me something, and I've always remembered, we'll get into this, you were trying to get fish oil to cool the knives, I guess. And I said, why that? He says, because fish oil doesn't change its temperature as quickly as water does. So you have a more consistent temperature to, what do you call it when you stick a hot knife?
You quench it.
Okay,
so
all right.
It's quench oil. And there are a lot of different oils for a lot of different steels. If you get really scientific about this, I guess. I don't. I look for an oil that dissipates heat evenly.
Right.
And so you want the right viscosity.
Right.
And now I've finally gotten around to using Parks 50 is one of them that I use. I don't do stainless steel blades because I don't believe in them. I worked in my grandfather's meat packing plant as a kid. They were all high carbon steel knives.
Right.
And when they went to stainless steel, it caused all kinds of havoc in the meat packing industry because nobody could sharpen them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, when stainless goes dull, it actually loses microscopic pieces along the cutting.
Okay.
When high carbon steels go dull, they've either flattened out or folded over a little bit. You slap them twice on a steel, it stands right back up.
Oh, okay.
You go back to work.
Interesting.
So,
Okay. All right.
And my blades will discolor in time, but they won't rust unless you're put in the dishwasher. I never want to talk.
Unless you're pretty stupid. So, yeah, I'll probably put them in the dishwasher like putting a cast iron pan in the dishwasher.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't do that. So there's a word of caution. But I'm a fan of high carbon steels, and that's where I go. But yeah, the quenching temperatures and all that stuff are all incredibly fine-tuned.
Okay, all right. Okay, listen, we're talking with Terry McMaster. Terry McMaster is a former veteran, former Wenatchee Police Department officer, former investigator for the State Department of Labor and Industries, right? And now he's a hobby knife maker. We're going to get to look at some of his product and talk a little bit more about the process in a minute, but we need to take a break. So, Street Talk and other stuff. If you stick around, we're going to be right back. Good.
Raising a family may have seemed overwhelming to your parents, but they weren't. Coach, teacher, life guide, caregiver. Family takes care of family. And as the circle of life continues, you now are their caregiver. It may seem overwhelming, but we're here to help you find the support services necessary so you can provide quality care to your elders.
Call Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington at 1-800-572-4459. It's the NCW Life Community Calendar, a presentation of Sangster Motors. The Black Box comedy series continues at the America Performing Arts Center on Friday, April 5th with Zach Zimmerman. Zach is not only a stand-up comedian, but a writer and a podcaster. This show is intended for a mature audience. And opening night for Into the Woods is also Friday, April 5th at the Snowy Owl Theater on the campus of the Icicle Creek Center for the Performing Arts. Tickets for both events are available by visiting their respective websites.
At Local Myth Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. Featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
NCW Life Channel is your local TV station. We believe in being the spotlight and mirror to the communities we serve in North Central Washington. Programming on NCW Life would not be possible without our sponsors. Special thanks to our platinum sponsor, Alpine Air. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air.
Looking for things that do that too.
Okay, we're back. Street Talk and other stuff. Talking with Terry McMaster. Terry's a good friend of mine. A lot of stories with this gentleman, but now he's a custom knife maker as a hobby. He doesn't want to do it as a business because he wants to keep having fun, but why don't you show us? Okay, let's start with the blank here and kind of go through the process of what you do,
That's how my steel arrives. It's just, in this case, 1/8 inch thick, 12 inches long by 1.5 inches.
And where do you get that from?
I order it from several different outlets, and you have to be kind of careful because some of it will show up with stamp made in China or Pakistan or someplace.
And you don't want that.
You don't want that. Because then the metallurgy of it all comes into question. But there are some reliable places that I order it from. And when it arrives, it shows up, like I say, in bar stock, just like that. Then the first thing I do is come up with an idea about what kind of shape it's going to take on. And this is just one example of what it would look like after I profile one. This is just a drop point skinning knife. And so you
Now,
take
when
away everything that doesn't look like that.
Okay. All right, so can I? It's okay
Yeah.
if I pick it up?
Sure.
So when you are doing this, are you working? Is this like a spec knife, or is it somebody said to you, "Hey Terry, I want you to make me a knife, and this is what I want"?
More often than not, I make what I want, and if people want them, then okay, we can talk about that. Or
All
if they do have some kind of specific thing that they're interested in, and they drew it out on paper,
okay,
then I'd entertain trying to make one for them.
Okay.
So going from that stage, now I've got a profile of a knife. It's not hard. This metal is soft. So I do the preliminary grinds on it and get it punch holes in it for handle material.
Right.
Then it'd go into my forge or into my heat treat oven, and it would get hard. And that's a 3-part segment, actually. You normalize the steel first, and once it's normalized, and that's you heat it up to non-magnetic and let it air cool.
And what kind of temperature are we talking about?
We're up there in the neighborhood of 1,200 to 1,400 degrees, depending upon the steel.
And what do you use for that? You have a specialty furnace or
Yes,
a kiln? Or
I have a electric kiln.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and it'll heat anywhere up to well over 2,000 degrees if I want it to.
Okay.
So, but I can get very specific with the temperature, and I can hold the temperature for a specific amount of time, and then come out and it quenches in oil that's heated to 150 degrees.
Okay.
So it doesn't. it's stuff
I'm taking your word for it, dude.
Yeah, it's way too much information for most folks.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
After that's done, then you, and this is a common knife that a skinning knife that I've made over the years.
Oh, that's
and
beautiful.
It's bears the Blind Dog logo, which is something we haven't gotten into yet either.
Okay, well.
I will. As you may recall, at one time I had an old police canine
I
named Vasco.
remember Vasco.
Yep, and
he left me in the car alone with Vasco once, and I went, "Oh, let's just talk."
Vasco was an impressive creature.
Vasco was, indeed.
And mighty good at his job.
Yeah.
But he went blind, and I was out working my shop one day, and the dog was dutifully laying next to me on the concrete, and I turned around and said, "What are we going to call these blades, you old blind dog?" And that's how I came up with Blind Dog knives. It's kind of brilliant.
Cool.
But it bears the logo on here that's acid etched and electric etched into each blade. Mosaic pins in this case. This is spalded tamarind, this particular wood.
Okay. All right.
And
do you make the handles as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And I can make them now out of even softer material because I pressure treat, I vacuum seal them, and inject them with phenolic resin, so it makes them really hard, even if it was semi-soft. So you can get some beautiful wood that now is pretty durable. So that's.
May I? Oh,
yes,
wow.
certainly. It's sharper than your average knife.
Yeah.
So exercise.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that is really a beautiful knife. Okay.
And then there's different varieties and different ways that you can go. That one's 1095 steel, which is really good for industrial wear and tear.
Okay.
It'll skin a bunch of deer or whatever. This is 52100, which is a hard bearing steel. It has a harder edge, a little bit more difficult to sharpen, but this is a stacked leather handle, which I hate making because they take so long. It's a difficult process, but these are individual stacked pieces of leather.
Again, beautiful.
And I hand forged a butt cap out of a hammerhead because everybody needs to be able to have a hammer on one of their.
Always use the right tool for the right job, right?
I was always trained that way. So that's another example of a little mini K-bar.
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to say that looks like an old K-bar knife.
Yep.
So that's nice.
And and I make all the sheaths as well. Leather work is not my favorite.
Okay, well, you do a nice job.
It's a necessary thing.
Yeah. What equipment do you have for the leather work?
Very minimalistic. Yeah. Like I say, I make those. But there's another example of a similar knife. By the way, I never make two knives that are exactly the same. They might come off the same profile template, but I grind each one individually, and therefore wherever the steel takes you is where you go. And this is another example of that same smaller knife. This one is...
That's another leather handle that you don't like to do,
it's
right?
Another leather, yeah, well, I do them occasionally just because I don't remember exactly how miserable it makes me.
That's what happens when you get old, dude.
Yeah,
you know,
really.
just...
This one has a railroad spike for a butt cap.
Oh, cool.
And it's pinned on.
All right.
So getting all this stacked on here and getting a pin through there that you can faintly see is hard work. But that's another example of a K-bar style.
That is nice. Okay, so somebody... All right, and you make these and see if somebody wants one.
Well, yeah.
What would you be willing to maybe give information if somebody wanted to call you and say, hey, Terry, I want you to make me a knife?
Yeah, or if they're just curious about the process and would like to know more, I'm always happy to impart what I do know.
Okay, so how would they contact? They can just search out Blind Dog Knives, right?
Actually, they won't find anything there.
Okay.
They can call me.
Okay.
I can provide them with that.
Yeah, go ahead, give your number. Go ahead, get ready to write it down. Here we go.
All right, here it comes. 509-670-9336.
Okay, and of course, as always, you can contact me, and I can tell you how to get a hold of Terry. So, so and now again,
this is there's one more.
Oh, okay. Wow, this is like a kitchen knife.
It is. Yeah. So
I like that.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
More than just another pretty face.
Oh, that is nice. So.
And I don't do these anymore, but I'll show you one last one, and that's Damascus steel, which I don't know that it'll even show on here, but you can kind of see the grain in the blade.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
That's twist Damascus. That's made of 1095 and 15N20.
Okay,
and
but
I don't have a press, so I don't do that.
Damascus steel, is that a brand name or just a type of metal?
No, it's a type.
Okay.
So
all right,
that's
now,
them.
Let's say somebody wanted one of these.
Yes.
$80, you saying, or
well,
probably?
no, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
No, I'm a little bit. You can go to Walmart and get $80 knives.
Okay, all right. Okay.
No, if you want a one-of-a-kind knife out of me, it'll be in excess. It'll be $200 or better.
Okay, all right.
And it depends on whether there's file work and all that stuff involved.
For the amount of expertise you have in it, for the materials you use, your equipment, that is not unreasonable at all.
I think if you really want a one-of-a-kind handmade knife, you have to be willing to do that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, they're spendy, but I've gotten around to where I'm worth it.
I like that attitude. Okay. All right. Talking with Terry McMaster. Terry, great guy. Okay. Love this man and glad to have him here. Been wanting to have him on for quite some time. But hey, we need to take a break. We're going to come back and say goodbye. But Street Talk and other stuff. You stick around. We will be right back. So.
Thank you.
At Confluence Health, our mission is clear: to provide exceptional care for our community. We believe in healthcare that's personal and local because we're just like you, members of this great community.
We are Confluence.
Local care by and for our community.
Local care by and for our community.
Local care by and for our community.
We are Confluence.
The Lake Chelan Chamber of Commerce presents Wonders of Wooden Avenue.
Welcome to the newest and funnest fashion boutique on Wooden, featuring mountain chic clothing and men's footwear from UGG, Brixton, Sorel, and Free People. Walk on into the Tiffany Blue Building on the second block of Wooden and check it out.
It is nearly impossible to describe what you'll find in Lush Life. It's an eclectic collection of items from around the world. See it for yourself at the corner of Wooden and Emerson.
Wonders of Wooden Avenue, North Central Washington's premier shopping district.
Okay, we're back. I just want to say Terry. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your contribution to this community. And thanks for just being a good guy, okay?
Thanks for all you do.
My pleasure. My pleasure. But hey, Street Talking Other Stuff. Thanks for tuning in this April 1st. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We'll start in Georgia with a 5-star wide receiver, and we'll also stop to talk to quarterbacks in Texas and Connecticut. We'll also introduce you to a rising soccer star in Florida, and former NFL defensive back Mike Doss will chat with us in our journey to greatness. Those stories and more are coming up next on Sports Stars of Tomorrow. Welcome to the show that goes around the country featuring the next generation of star athletes. I'm your host, Charles Davis. We're going to kick off today's show in Georgia with one of the best wide receivers in the 2024 class. And that's this week's 5